Good morning. It's Friday, August 30th. I'm Sabah Hassan. I'm the Director of Operations Support in School Finance. I have with me Roxanne from my team, but I know for a fact a couple other people from my team are watching as well. And uh, Irvin from the AZ's team. I think we're doing a pretty good job of communicating things as they come up. So, lately our webinars have been pretty light days. So here's another hopefully light day. Um, if you haven't been here before, you should know I start the day with a little bit of housekeeping because the screen we're looking at looks like a YouTube video, but I'm not going to be monitoring the comments section like you would in a normal YouTube video. Instead, I'm using a Google tool that gives me the questions on a separate screen. And so if you see the top of the video, it says ask a questions at slides.app.goo.gul/pwhqi. I see a separate screen with all the questions in it. And that gives me the opportunity to show the questions because that way other people can follow along a little more quickly. Um, we've been kind of discussing with other areas around the agency how they do their webinars, so we're hopeful that we're going to move to, I think, maybe a Microsoft solution. So we'll see. In the meantime, though, the Q&A is on a separate tab or in a different browser. And if you're logged into Google and that shows your preference for robotics or something, and you don't want your peers in the education community to know about your obsession with robots and your joy of Legos or whatever it is, you can log out and be anonymous, and so your picture and your username won't show up. Just if you ask me a very specific question, I'm going to ask like follow-up questions. So hopefully it's not too bad. I know some people have success using the browser on their phone for the Q&A, but I think it's other people have had it lock up that way. So I think using a browser on your computer is a little better. School finance, for hopefully there's a couple of new charters out there on here, disperses state aid payments to charters and districts. Primarily we use student data for it, but there are a few other data elements we're using as well. So you can reach out to my team for support with that kind of data that we're using for ADE's using for payment. And so we're 602-542-5695. So my team usually can get you places. On the subject of new charters, we've got 6 or 8 of them, and a couple of them have had a pretty trying July and August. So we schedule at least once or twice a year kind of an AZ's Basics submission to reports and how to reconcile all the way backwards session. It is recorded on our website right now, so if you don't want to wait until October, you can always call in or you can try to watch the video of it. Honestly, that's the whole point of having our analyst team. So if you want to call in and ask for help, there's that. Otherwise, you can email sfanalystteam@az.gov, and I don't know what this is. And they'll be able to, that's what that was. I broke the questions. They'll be able to talk you through it. But we do have the training, and let me walk you to the section on, oh no. Everyone's going to believe I'm very technically proficient now. There we go. Why isn't it on the screen? Lost it. I lost the Q&A. Continue. Oh, Lord. Oh, no. There it is. Okay. So this is the school finance website. It's www.az.gov, like Arizona Education /finance. There is a way to get there through the menu, and usually I would take the time to do that. On the ADE website, the navy blue at the top is the ADE menu, and the light blue in the middle is the specific subsites menu. Ours, the Knowledge Center, is where you keep, is where you'll find those training videos. Of course, today is the day that the website is slow. I don't have hold music though. They're kind of down to the bottom. And that's kind of basics on AZ's, how to submit, how to track that what you submitted is what we received. If you don't know this, we calculate once a month how much does ADE this is going to be a hyper simplification. How much does ADE owe you based on the amount of average daily membership you have for your LEA? And one of the analysts describes this as like a pie, except for me, I can't imagine a pie being sliced in 12 because there are 12 months and 12 payments. So I'm going to call it a pizza. If it's a really big pizza, each slice of the pie is going to be really big. If it is a tiny personal pizza, when you slice it in 12, those are teeny tiny pieces. But every month we recalculate the size of the pie and make sure that you have the next proportion. So your payments go up and down as it goes. The statewide recalculation is after the entire year is done, we lock the system and we do one more recalculation, and we make sure that what we paid you all year matches a final value. So the payments team sent out an email this past few weeks with the reconciliation back between what we ended up paying you all year and the final value. If you had a positive adjustment, you certainly probably not going to need to talk to me about this. But the negative adjustments, and there are a handful of charters, less than 5, whose negative adjustment is pretty unwieldy. And so what that means is maybe something happened in June or July where their data went pretty badly and their ADM tanked in such a way that we paid them over the course of 12 payments more than their ADM is showing for the end of the year. So as we calculate fiscal year 20 payments, they have to do an adjustment to take away what we had, it appears, to overpaid you. But part of the email that went out from the payments team to your business manager explained the plan for the next few months is if you're one of those charters that is pretty badly affected, it's really less than 5, then you'll be requesting a 915. So that one, if you reach out to my team, we can make sure that we're tracking the progress of your 915 so we can communicate it to the payments team. So I just wanted you to know that this is how data impacts payments. And yes, it is kind of a staggering process, but we can all talk it through together. We'll get there. It's going to be good. We put up a hot topic at the week of the last data capture, and it was figuring out the basis for payment 2. We're having a little bit of struggle getting some of the newer schools into AZEDs, and the AZEDs team is working with us on that. For example, a couple of new private day schools and things like that, and a couple of the newer charters. So we're trying to analyze the data and make sure we give people as consistent a payment as possible. So as we're headed towards payment 3, the ADM and AZEDs is looking really good for the year so far. I think we have about 90% of what we would have expected given just population growth. So I want to start posting a spreadsheet to show people a little bit earlier. Here are the LEAs who are successfully on AZEDs and it's going well, and here are the people where we want to talk to you about how can we could support you to get data in and get there. One of the contributing problems to this is for a charter that has successfully submitted memberships to AZEDs but not special education data, I can't paste those together between estimated counts and AZEDs. So there'll be a little analysis, and I don't know if you saw it last month, but I'll point you to where that is. If you go to just the basic school finance page, we have a widget on the front that shows our most recent 10 hot topics. There it is. We put out a hot topic saying, hey, here's our plan to kind of figure out data sources for payment 2. And then here's the actual analysis itself. It's a gigantic spreadsheet. So hopefully we'll post something similar to that by the end of next week. I also wanted to tell you that over the weekend is going to be our deadline for posting calendars. So I know that for those people who have had trouble submitting, that this is difficult, and we're not necessarily making it easier. One thing, though, that I am pretty confident is last year we had the same process. On September 1st, we locked our calendar API, and we've got consistent feedback from LEAs that we are processing those first. So when you need access to a calendar, we can get those handled, hopefully within 1 day. I've got some questions coming in already. Oh, I recognize these questions. It says, suffix guidance. So for those of you who haven't been here over the summer, somebody is asking for help with what do I do when I see a student with two legal documents, let's say a passport and a birth certificate, and on one of them, the generational suffix, let's say his name is John Smith the Fourth, is a separate field, and on the other, he's John Smith IV, and they've put it all together. Our tentative guidance for that was try to stick to the birth certificate. The tricky part is we haven't had time over the summer to write up formal guidance about it yet. So in the interim, we'll advise you to use a birth certificate. We acknowledge the need for that guidance, but we didn't write it over the summer. Suzanne Smith asks, hi, we're unable to see our two new schools calendars and been told this is a known AZEDS issue. Any update? Yep, this is what I was talking about earlier, that there are some new schools that are not in AZEDS, and we know about it. So the update is we're still working with IT on that. I don't have a date on when they're going to get in. My team is currently focusing on 915s as kind of a top priority, and your emails as they come in. But then I think as we head past September 1st, honestly, opening calendars is a really short task, and tracking it is a pretty short task. So I'm hoping this won't become a worse issue. But in the meantime, I don't know when the school's going to land there. But we are working with the IT team on it, and they're doing pretty well, I think. I have a question that I don't know if I'm going to be very good at answering. An anonymous user is asking AZED's question. Why is AZED's collecting student address information and therefore parent address information? I can explain to you why why school finance would need address information. Students' eligibility for ADM can change based on their district of residence, and so their zip code will help me get that. But I think also it is the responsibility of the Department of Education and the Superintendent of Public Instruction to pay attention to certificates of educational convenience and unorganized territories. So student addresses help us figure out where students are coming from and track open enrollment better. I hadn't been concerned about parents' address. I didn't know we were collecting it, and so that's the part I'm going to have to go touch base with the AZEDS IT team on and understand better. That's why I can only answer part of that question. I'm sorry. Ooh, here's an interesting tone. Anonymous user is asking, where can we find documentation for absence amounts, specifically looking for it with regards to early release dates? It used to be in the school finance manual. Will that ever be reborn? The school finance manual, I'm writing it right now. If you need documentation on absence amounts, it's in 15901, and I can walk you there. The Arizona legislature has a website. It's www.azleg.gov. And our Arizona revised statutes are here. 15 is the education title. And 901 has a lot of definitions. So I'm going to scroll pretty fast because 900 is obviously low down on the list. There you go. 901, general provisions for school district budgets, 901. You can control F, but broadly definitions in this title, otherwise they define ADM, they define a fractional student, they define a full-time student, they define the regular school day, a budget year, common schools, current year, and daily attendance. So here A5 defines daily attendance. But broadly, the permitted values for attendance as outlined by 901 are 0, a quarter, a half, 3/4, or a whole day of attendance. And so here's where it is, but we are working on the school finance manual. Just I think a question for not me. I don't understand it. Anonymous users asking, AZ's question. Please direct us to the mandate/requirements for student academic records and course transcripts being submitted to AZs. I'm not using, okay, wait. For almost every student, I'm not using transcripts for ADM. There was a new law in recent years about post-secondary concurrent coursework, and that's dependent on the success and number of credits of the student. So for currently 6 LEAs, and so just under 3,000 students, I am looking at course transcripts for ADM. I don't know where to point you for the mandate and requirements of submitting course transcripts for anyone other than those 3,000 students, but I'll make sure to take that up to our data governance group and see who can point me to the answer to that one. You see a follow-up address question. Any status on, oh, a SACE question, weird. Anonymous user says, asked before, that's interesting. Any status on when there will be a concurrent enrollment report similar to the ADE? Oh lordy, it's been 5 years since SACE, I can't remember what an ADE does. The limited ADM is not good for 100. If you're asking for a report that shows when a student is enrolled in more than one place, I've requested it from AZs for the past few months now, and they're working on it. I can't give you an exact date that they'll be finished, but I requested it from AZs a few months ago, so. Anonymous users asking, where can we get information in regards to discipline, not just relating to SPED and requirements for reporting, if any? To my knowledge, we don't require reporting of discipline for all students, but definitely for SPED students. So unfortunately, the ESS data management inbox is the correct place to ask for information about discipline. Oh, the website is so slow today. I hate to do this. I think it's special education. Let's just jump straight there. Don't spell anything wrong because today is a slow day. Hooray! So the ESS website is special education, and they have a main inbox, which is essinbox@az.gov. I think there's also an ESS data management inbox. So I think that's the right place for discipline, but we're not collecting discipline for all students, to my knowledge. The last I heard was just SPED discipline. I think I need to follow up on the next question with Sheen or Lyle. Anonymous users asking, when are the fiscal year 19 AFR forms coming out? I don't know what an AFR form is, so I'll follow up and see if maybe they can post a hot topic to kind of explain. It looks like somebody is following up on the discipline question. AZSafe used to have the code values. AZSafe had been a funded program a few years ago, but is long out of date now. That's part of why the discipline data moved into ESS, because that's why ESS is the right thing. AZSafe is no longer a standalone program. Oh no, I can't believe this is still a problem. Anonymous users asking, when will the teacher input application be available? The website says pending completion of processing by school finance. I don't actually know. Statewide recalc can't even start processing until after the year is over. Then the statewide recalculation itself does take some weeks. And then once that's complete, we can input new schools. So I emailed that team earlier this week saying all the new schools have been inputted. They should be able to open. If their application isn't open yet, I cannot help you. You're going to have to reach out to Educator Excellence. I don't know what teacher input application, like the dates or the timings or anything. I don't know why they put my name on it, but Educator Excellence is the right place for that one. So for support with the teacher input application, I would point you to the highly qualified group. Or do they have an inbox? There you go, Educator and School Excellence at az.gov. To my knowledge, the teacher input application collects data to be used as part of, I think, don't quote me, but it's something like Title I and Title II and Title IV. So it's not state aid at all. And I think the deadline has something to do with the federal fiscal year, but please don't quote me on that either, which is why definitely reach out to the Educator and School Excellence at az.gov inbox. So, but I will talk to them about that messaging because it's misleading. School finance has nothing to do with your federal grant and can't actually help you with TIA in the slightest. Sorry. Oh, interesting. I think I see a follow-up to the address question saying, why do you need apartment numbers? If you're getting error messages saying that the apartment numbers need to be submitted, I'm going to have to follow up with AZEDs because I didn't know that they were requiring teacher. Oh, Irvin's making a face, kind of like scowling and turning down his lips a little bit, so I think he's a little bit confused about that one. So I'm not sure that there are rules requiring apartment numbers, and I'm not sure that there are rules requiring parent address, but we'll follow up with AZEDs and see why you're getting those messages. If you are getting those messages, can you maybe screen cap them, please, and send them to AD support at az.gov? That's a very strange thing to be happening. Anonymous user is having a reconciliation question. I'm great at this. Anonymous user saying, we have found that when we do the stud 10 to ADM 15 comparison, we're still missing kids. Is there any way to catch this? Somehow the kids are not getting sent to ADE, but we don't know that. There is one more, or I guess there's a couple more reports to help explain it. A stud 10 is going to show you the kids that have definitely landed. So if you're concerned that your students aren't even getting to ADE, you can pull a trans 10 or a trans 15. Trans 10 is going to be summary. Trans 15 is going to be detail, but each of those is limited to a span of 3 days. So I might advise doing a full sync and then pulling the trans 15 right after the full sync. That way you can see which transactions are going and then what their responses are. So we use standard HTML transaction responses at the API. So 200 codes are successes and 400 codes, like if you've been on your browser and you get 404 not found, it's the same kind of a response you'll get from the AZ's API if, for example, you don't have permission, or if something's erroring out, you'll get a 400 code. I think 1 in 10 million responses is a 500, which is IT explained to me just try it again because it's a fluke. So hopefully you won't see 500s in there. If you're seeing a rush of weird transactions in there, you can submit a ticket to ADE support, or you can submit a ticket to your sys vendor. But if it's at a transaction, I don't know how to support you with that, so that's an ADE support or a sys vendor. If there are all the kids in your sys are on your stud 10, then the problem might not be submission, the problem might be related to data quality. So the next thing to pull is an ADM 15, an INTEG 15, and I try to pull it twice. Try to pull once for students that failed and once for students that passed it. That way you can see and explain why each kid shows up or not. And then pull the ADM 15. So I have yet to see a circumstance except for, oh wait, no, we did see it last year. There were, I think, 6 or 8 kids who were not showing on the Integ 15, but did not have errors on the Integ 15 and were not showing on the ADM 15. And so those, they showed on an error message to the developer, and so he worked on that one. So if you've got a circumstance like this where the kid's not on your Integ 15 and not on your ADE, we can't figure out what's going on at all, please do put in a ticket, or you can contact my team. But most things, they'll show up in an integrity message or in a Trans 15 message. And I've got a video about that if you need it. Okay, all of these are gray, so I've seen them all. Oh, somebody is contributing to the TIA discussion. So I'm going to sign off and try to work on improving our website a little bit so that you can see more things, and then do that analysis of AZ's data for payment 3. So hopefully next time we see each other we have better news. But mostly I think we're doing pretty good. We'll get there. I want you to have a really great weekend, because I plan on, sleeping off this rain, because the rain really gets me. And 2 weeks from now is, I don't know the date. I don't know the date. Probably the 13th? Ooh, spooky. This is going to be exciting. Friday the 13th. Next time I'll see you, it's Friday the 13th. This is going to be fun. I appreciate all of your participation. It really is making my job easier. And have a nice weekend.